האם זה באמת סגולה בדוקה? הסגולה ללמוד בזה?
Erev Tov, good evening. Dobra v'yetzer. We are in the Zera Shimshon. We're going to do a small piece from the middle of Os Gimel, section number 3. We've already started this piece, and I'll talk a little bit about the first section. We're going to do a small piece now, which we're calling part 2. And then, Be'ezus Hashem, next time we'll be able to finish up the piece when we do part 3, the final and concluding piece. Before we begin, we're going to read 2 psukim from the Parsha that have to do with the mun. Oh, I'm sorry, this is Parsha Be'halot'cha, and it has to do, these psukim have to do with the mun, the manna that fell from heaven, that fell from the sky, and came down and fed the Jewish people during their many, many years in the Midbar, in the wilderness. So this is Parak Yud Aleph, psukim Vav and Zayin. Ve'ata nafshenu yivesha, and now our souls are dried out. Ein kol, there is nothing. Bilti el hamon einenu, except for the mun in front of our eyes. So that's clearly a complaint about the mun, right? That this is all we have, this mun right in front of our eyes all of the time, and that was disturbing them. Vehamon kizera gadhu, and the mun was like coriander seeds, like the mun looked like small white seeds. Ve'eno ke'ein habidolach, and its appearance was like the appearance of a precious stone called bidolach. So it glistened and it shone, and it was beautiful to look at. And so the Torah, it's as if the Torah is saying, the mun was this beautiful, little, wonderful food, and they were complaining about it. So let's now talk about, to introduce our little middle section, let's talk about the first section for a moment. So the Zera Shimshon starts this first section by talking about the fact that it was inappropriate for the Jewish people to complain about the mun, and he shows from other psukim that the Jewish people wanted meat. And why did they have such a hunger for meat that led them to disparage the mun? So he explains that there's an opinion in Chazal that in the wilderness, the Jewish people were only allowed to eat basar kadoshim. They were only allowed to eat the meat from sacrifices. They weren't allowed to simply slaughter meat in a kosher way and eat it, which is called chulin, regular meat that has nothing to do with a sacrifice, but you eat it because you want to eat meat, which of course is permitted to us and was permitted to the Jewish people after they came into the land of Israel. But at that time, in the Midbar, the Zera Shimshon theorizes, or at least I should say not theorizes, but he brings an actual opinion in Chazal that they were not allowed to eat meat unless it came from a sacrifice. And so they were very restricted in their ability to eat meat. They developed, therefore, a great hunger and a taiva, a desire for meat. And when that couldn't be fulfilled, they kind of turned on the mun, and they disparaged it, and they criticized it, for which they were punished. So the first section in this piece, section 3, Drush Gimel, talks about that. And now the Zera Shimshon is going to pick things up from that point where it says, Uma she'omru. If you're looking at our piece, it's right there on the first column on the right, the beginning of the second paragraph. Uma she'omru, and this that the people said, Ve'ata nafshenu yevesha. This, of course, is our pasuk that we just read, and now our souls are dried out. Ein kol, there is nothing, bilti el hamon einenu, except for the mun in front of our eyes. Amrinan beperek mefanin. We say in Masechah Shabbos, in the chapter called Perek Mefanin, Demi shehikis dam, someone who has a blood-letting experience. Of course, in the time of our sages, it was considered an important medicinal procedure in certain situations to take blood out of a person's body, to remove blood, to draw blood from them. So if a person does that Oso hayom, that same day, tzorich lecho basar, he needs to eat meat, velishtos yayin, and he needs to drink wine. Basar, he needs to eat meat, mishum nafsha chalof nafsha, because he should replace life with life, meaning when the blood was taken from the person's body, this took away a certain part of their vitality, of the power of their life. And meat comes from a living animal, of course, and so he should replace the aspect of life that he lost when blood was drawn with the living animal meat, with the meat that came from a living animal. Of course, the animal had to be slaughtered properly first. Yayin, and why should he drink wine? Mishum sumaka, because sumaka chalaf sumaka, because we bring something red to replace that which was lost, which was red. When the person's blood was drawn, he lost the red blood, and the wine, which is red, can help replace it. So the Gemara's very strong advice. Notice the Gemara uses the word tzorich. He needs to. The Gemara sometimes talks about tov. It would be good to do a certain thing. You don't need to do it, but it's good to do it. Here the Gemara says tzorich. He really needs to do this. If he has blood taken, he needs to eat meat and wine. V'lachein omru Yisrael, and therefore the Jewish people said, when we find ourselves that our souls, our very souls feel dried out, merov Torah haderech, from the great troubles of the journey, the travel. You're traveling in the midbar and the heat, and in these difficult circumstances, sometimes very long distances and very tough conditions. And of course, that would tire out a person and deplete his resources. O machmas dover acher, or if we're feeling all dried out and depleted because of something else, hatakona yoser tova, the best thing that can be done as a remedy, hile'echol basar, is to eat meat. Mishum nafsha chalaf nafsha, like the Chazal said, like the Gemara from Masechah Shabbos, to replace the life energy that has gone out of a person with the life energy from meat. Ve'ein kol, and we don't have anything. Klomar ein lanu kol tzarchei hatsuda hatzarich lanu. We don't have what we need for a real seuda, a real meal to build up our strength and our energy, she'ein lanu basar, because we don't have meat. Again, this is according to the view the Zera Shimshon previously established earlier in this piece, that they were not allowed to eat meat whenever they wanted to. They were not just allowed to slaughter an animal as we are and eat meat. They could only eat meat when it was came from a sacrifice, from a korban, which was not happening all the time, that all of the Jewish people could have access to korbanos to eat the meat. So they were complaining the man is not meat, and it's not giving us the life energy that we crave and need, that we could get if we could eat meat. Next paragraph. V'im tomar, and if you say, she'anu toamim b'man kol minei tam, that they could taste in the man every conceivable flavor, v'hamon levado yaspik, so the man itself should be satisfactory, should be sufficient, right? Eat man, think of meat, and you'll get the taste of meat. Think of a nice juicy steak, you'll get it. Think of roast, think of whatever type of meat you desire, and you'll have that taste. Halo al hayayin lo yaspik. That might, in a certain limited way, be true about meat, because the person could get the taste of meat through the mun, but it certainly wouldn't help with wine. The bo'in and sumaka dafka, because the point of the wine is to get that redness. You lost the red blood, and now you want that rich redness from the wine. Vehamon adarabahu lavan. And the mun, just the opposite. It wasn't red, it was white. Vizehu bilti el hamon einenu. And this is what they meant with the words in the pasuk we started with. And we don't have anything except for the mun in front of our eyes. The word ayin and eyes always can be related to the way something appears. They were saying, look at the appearance of the mun. It's not red like wine. It doesn't look like meat. It doesn't look like wine. It's white. Ulefia emes, and according to the truth, meaning in reality, lo shayich bein nafsha chalaf nafsha. It's not relevant to say about the mun that it could replace life-giving forces the way that meat could. Velosu maka klal, and it had no redness whatsoever. So the mun did not cut it for the people. It didn't work for them because they were so focused and obsessed with meat. They wanted meat. They felt deprived of meat, and they were not buying the idea that mun could taste like meat, so they should be happy and satisfied with the mun. Next paragraph. V'zehu sheperesh Rashi, and this is what Rashi explains on the words bein paran uvein tofel v'lovan. As you see in the parentheses, these words come from the beginning of Sefer Devarim, in which Moshe gives a list of the places where the Jewish people traveled throughout the Midbar, throughout the wilderness. And one phrase, Rashi there talks about the phrase between Paran and between Tofel and Lavan. And Rashi says that these place names were not given by the Torah to be a geography lesson. They were given by the Torah to teach an important lesson, because Moshe was rebuking the Jewish people at things that had happened at these different places. Either Moshe was either using actual place names, or he was alluding, hinting to events that had happened in using the names. So here, Hochichon al hadivarim, Moshe was criticizing the people on the words shetoflu, that they slandered, al haman, about the mun, shehu lavan, which was white. So now these words take on an entirely different meaning. When Moshe said to the people, we traveled around and we were at one point we were, and now we're between Paran and between Tofel and Lavan, that was Moshe's way of saying, people, Tofel, you slandered the Lavan, the white thing, the mun, and that was a terrible avera that you did. Instead of appreciating the mun, you said negative things about it. V'hatam shehizkir chetam, and the reason that Moshe mentioned their sin, b'mashe toflu al haman, on the fact that they criticized or slandered the mun shehu lavan dafka. Moshe mentioned specifically because it was white. Yeshalomar, we can say, the beperek in the chapter, top of the next column, Yud Gimel de Ksubis, in the 13th chapter of Meseches Ksubis, Amrinan Tov Hamalbin Shinayim Lechavero. Chazal teach a beautiful, beautiful lesson in that Gemara in Ksubis, where it says it is better to greet someone with a smile from his teeth. Hamal bin shinaim. It's better to show the white of your teeth to a friend when you meet them. Yoser mimashkehu cholov, more than giving the person a delicious drink of milk. To greet someone and to say, here's a nice cold glass of milk, is going to make them feel very, very good. They're drinking the milk and they're thinking, geschmack, what a wonderful drink of this delicious cold milk. And so, although I can't really say for sure the milk they drank in the Midbar was cold, but I'm just saying nowadays, if you give someone a cold glass of milk, they're going to love it and enjoy it. But the Gemara Chazal teaches it's better to give them a smile. The white of your teeth is even better for them and will be more appreciated than the glass of milk. Ve'hamalbin shinayim, and a person who shows the white of his or her teeth. Ratzolomar, this means to say, shenosein lo muat, he might be giving the other person just a little bit, besever panim yafos, with a beautiful smiling face. That's what Chazal is teaching. You might think, oh, how can I have a guest over, or how can I greet someone, or how can I be nice to this person? I only have a little bit. I have one cookie. I have a half a cookie. I have a little nebuch. I only have a little slice of cake, whatever it might be. It's only a little bit. So Chazal say, don't worry about the food that you're giving them, because give it to them b'sever panim yafos, give it to them with a nice, beautiful, welcoming smile, and that's the best you can do. V'hoil shebekan HaKadosh Baruch Hu nisano lahem. And since here regarding the man, Hashem gave it to them, b'sever panim yafos, with a nice smiling face. It means as if to say, Hashem didn't just say, here's the man. Hashem presented it in a beautiful way. It had a beautiful shining appearance, a white shining opulence, as we discussed before. And Hashem had it float down during the night, so when they came up, they'd see that the dew had fallen overnight, and the mun fell on top of the first layer of dew, and then another layer of dew came and covered it, so it was nice and kind of wrapped up for them like a present. Hashem gave the Jewish people the mun like a beautiful shining present. And therefore it talks about the fact that it was white. Lirmos al zeh, to hint to this idea about Hashem giving it to them with a smile, with a white smile, and giving it to them in a beautiful, gracious manner. Ve'afal pichein, and even so, taflu alav devarim, they slandered the man, which came with this beautiful whiteness, not just its own white appearance, its own white shining appearance, but the whiteness of the smile, kaviyachol, so to speak, from Hashem. They still slandered it with devarim, with words, and that's what Moshe Rabbeinu, according to Rashi's explanation, was saying when he talked about bein paran ubein tofel ubein lavan. It was between tofel, slander, and lavan and white. They were slandering it, even though Hashem gave the mun to the Jewish people with a smile. So we're going to stop here, which will enable us next time, Amir Hashem, to Be'ezus Hashem, to complete this very interesting piece about the mun and the problems that the Jewish people had with it, and the fact that they were punished for their criticism about the mun. But what the Zera Shimshon has given us an insight into is that, which would make it impossible to understand the story otherwise, is that the people had this craving for meat, and the mun couldn't satisfy that, and that was a justifiable point. It wasn't right that they were criticizing the mun and slandering the mun and not appreciating it, but it is true that the mun could not provide the life-giving qualities of meat and wine, which from Chazal themselves we see is true about meat and wine, and the mun was not able to do that, although it could provide the taste, of course, of whatever they wanted it to taste like. Yasher Koch for joining us in this small section of Zera Shimshon this time. We look forward to joining together again, Be'ezus Hashem, next week to learn the Zera Shimshon on next week's Parsha.